Right. Hi all. Thank you for coming to this afternoon's meeting of the Social Care and Tackling Poverty Service Transformation Committee, and what a mouthful that is. Welcome to all the officers. Thank you for your attendance. Right, so with no further ado, apologies for absence.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Apologies for absence from Councillor Kerry Evans.
Okay. Any disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests at all? No? Right. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. If I just go through the pages in case you want to raise anything. Page 1, page 2, and page 3.
Yep.
Okay, everybody happy?
That.
Right. Okay. Lovely, thank you very much. Okay, item 4, when I'm ready. I apologise, I don't know who's taking this, but over to you. Thank you very much.
Apologies. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Helen Williams. I'm Principal Officer for Young People and Adolescent Services in Child and Family. And on screen is Amy Barrett, who is the team manager of the Bays Plus service. So I'm hoping everybody's had the opportunity to read the report and view the policy. I guess our invitation today is to ask for any views that anybody has on the updated policy that we have prepared. But I will go through the highlighted points from the report initially, and I think Amy might just give a very brief overview in terms of what happens in practice in respect to when I'm ready, and then if there are any questions, obviously we'd be happy to respond. So the When I'm Ready is part of a Welsh Government scheme created in partnership with local authorities. The duty for the When I'm Ready provision falls under the Social Services and Wellbeing Act. The purpose is for young people who have been looked after in foster placements are able to remain in those provisions beyond the age of 18. They can remain there until they're 21 unless they are engaged in some form of education or training, in which case they would be able to remain beyond their 21st birthday. It's important to note that the arrangement differs quite significantly actually from foster placement. So at 18, young people will no longer be considered looked after or within a care placement. So the nature of the relationship between what was the foster carer and now the When I'm Ready provider and that young person is slightly different. The aim is to increase independence. So the idea is that we support young people to remain in a provision that is stable and enables them to feel that they have the opportunity to develop their own independent skills up to a point at which they might be ready to move on. And that is the ultimate goal, is that they're able to move on independently. The idea is to give them greater voice and control and choices at 18 rather than a provision that they may have been in for a significant period of time just coming to an end. So young people within When I'm Ready provisions continue to have the support from a young person's advisor. Amy, I'm hoping, will talk a little bit more about that when I bring her in. But the overall expectation is that we're not maintaining this provision for well into adulthood, that we're actually supporting young people to stand on their own 2 feet and move forward. So in the report that I prepared, there is criteria that enables a young person to access a When I'm Ready provision. So I'll just briefly go through that just to ensure that there's an understanding, really. So a young person needs to have been formally looked after just prior to their 18th birthday, and living with a foster carer in an arrangement that was agreed by the local authority. And similarly, the carers are acting as approved foster carers by the local authority in the same arrangement. The young person would need to be deemed eligible as part of the definition within the Children Act. And we have to, as a local authority, we have to be satisfied that continuing that arrangement is in the best interests of that young person and meets their wellbeing needs. There is a financial element of support that is provided by the local authority, and I guess it's just important to note that our financial policy is currently under review in respect of this. So our commitment as a local authority to any young person in the provision is that we take the responsibility of being really clear with the provider and the young person what the expectations are. So I've already talked about that there is a change in the understanding of the role. It's no longer a foster placement, and it's upon us to ensure that that is understood, and so that everybody entering that agreement understands what those expectations are. It's also very important that we continue to get feedback from our young people and from our When I'm Ready providers, so that we are ensuring that we're providing the right support and we understand that those placements are working. Where the young people have additional needs and there may be a requirement for support to transition from children's services into adult services, we would be starting that process far sooner than 18. But I suppose it's about helping the When I'm Ready provider connect with adult services and the young person connect with adult services. So if there is a need to change the provision, so if that young person with additional needs needs to remain in that placement longer, that may become a shared lives placement through an adult service provision. So that transition, our best hope would be that we would ensure that that is a seamless transition, or as seamless as it possibly can. And the other commitment from us is that we're ensuring that we're recording the relevant data really, so that we understand the numbers of young people in the provisions and that the provisions are doing what we hope that they would be doing, so that we can continue to check ourselves as a local authority. So if it's okay, I'd like to bring in Amy at this stage just to provide a bit of an overview from a practice standpoint. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Yeah, so obviously, as Helen says, the idea behind When I'm Ready is much like their own children living at home, that lots of 18-year-olds not ready to go out into the world alone. So it has meant that young people are able to stay with former foster carers up until 21, potentially 25, and just spend that little bit more time to prepare for independence. So we start the process from about 16, use the pathway plan reviews to start planning. So if we've got a young person in foster placement, that's when the conversations will start happening with a young person about whether they want to stay When I'm Ready, and the provider, the foster carer. If we have had foster carers that don't want to provide When I'm Ready for various reasons, and we've had instances where it's by having that conversation from 16, it's enabled us to look for an alternative foster placement where a young person can stay. So the policy says that the young people should have that opportunities if they want to When I'm Ready, but foster carers don't feel able to provide that we'd give it another opportunity. And we have done it successfully once or twice. It's not always easy because of the lack of foster placements, but so then obviously the When I'm Ready starts at 18, and we allocate we've got a When I'm Ready coordinator in post. So there's 41 When I'm Ready placements at the moment. So it's a busy job to keep track of them all. But the When I'm Ready coordinator, Sarah, will set up the When I'm Readies. They reviewed a minimum of every 6 months, and then they brought back to our transition on group, then our panel, where adult services sit and child and family services, just to review how the plan is going. Sarah will work alongside providers more than the young people. So then the support the young people get is a YPA who's allocated to them from 16 onwards. They visit a minimum of 8 weekly, so they've seen a lot more of their young persons, being in placement a lot more, but they'll join the reviews. At the same time, we review the pathway plan and the When I'm Ready agreement. And those reviews then are used to monitor progress, so how the young person's moving towards independence, whether it's having they achieved outcomes, and setting goals with the young person and provider for us to move forward. It also gives, so we've got a few young people who've gone off to university, so they maybe been in a When I'm Ready placement for a little while, have gone off to university, and the When I'm Ready's been kept open for them to come back on holiday. So previously, before we had When I'm Ready, we had young people that would go off to university, and when they couldn't be in a student accommodation, they would come back and we would be putting them in temporary accommodation. Whereas now they can, like children living at home, can come back to home, I suppose, for holiday periods, and I say that can be up to 25. So we've had some young people that are in uni through their 20s and come back to when I'm ready placements. We use, just checking if I've covered everything. So yeah, we use the reviews as a point to get the YPA, young person provider, and when I'm ready provider together. And as I say, changing goals, setting young people's own goals, and working together really to make sure that it's meeting their needs and continues to meet their needs. We also use those to look at the move on plan, so that the placement isn't ending suddenly. We're looking at where the young person wants to be in the future and how we move towards that. Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions. It's a very brief overview of how it works in practice, I suppose. As I say, we've got 40 odd young people, and I think about 7 over the next few months that will be coming up to 18 that want to stay in their placements, and it's grown over the past kind of 4 or 5 years. We started with a few young people. I think last year we got up to about 30, and now it's grown even more. So we see more young people wanting to stay with their foster placements, and more foster carers willing to do this, which definitely increases their opportunities rather than them being completely independent at 18 when they're not ready for that. Thank you.
Thanks, both of you. That's a really interesting project. And personally, I have often thought that when somebody becomes 18, they don't suddenly want to leave where they are living. It never has quite made any sense to me. So this seems like as near as damn it, the perfect way of actually doing that seamless, instead of them suddenly being kicked out almost of where they are. So I'm very pleased to read this project, very, very pleased indeed. I've got a question, but I'm going to open it up to everybody else first to see if there's anybody who wants to ask one. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Is it generally the case where the 18-year-old will remain with the current foster parent, or is it or do they move on to so we say a more experienced, what one would say is a more experienced foster parent to look after an 18 plus?
So sorry. So the idea is that they remain with the foster carer they've got a relationship with, and the place that is home. And the policy says that they need to have been in that placement for 6 months prior to 18, and that's for that purpose really. So I suppose it would defeat the object a little bit to be moving somebody at 18 into a new placement with new carers. But as I say, not all foster carers feel able to provide when I'm ready. So there has been cases where by about 17 we're realising the young person wants this, but the foster carer doesn't, and then we've done a new foster placement search to find carers so they've got a year, 6 months to build a relationship before they get to the point where it converts to a when I'm ready.
Yeah, that was my thinking actually. I would have thought that by the time a young person becomes 18, the carer by then would prefer to have or to take on a younger lad or child to care. But my other point was with who decides as to when the carer is ready to sort of go alone, as one would say, after 18. Is there a time scale or?
For the young person?
For the young person, yes.
I mean, I have makes that clarity.
This is apart from. I'm sure that the teenager would have some say in that, but where does it go from there?
So the way that the policy works, the way that it's set up, is that the commitment is up to 21, unless that young person is obviously in some sort of training or education, in which case we can extend beyond the 21st birthday to ensure that there's no significant disruption. But again, I am going to bring Amy in because she'll probably be able to talk a bit better in terms of the role of the young person's advisor, because that's a really important role, to be working alongside that young person from the point of being 18 to be thinking about what that move on is going to look like, so that the young person does have choice and a voice in that, and can think about what those options are. Amy, I don't know whether there is anything you can add to that.
Yeah, just to add that, so part of those 6 monthly reviews, part of that review format is the move on plan. So an awareness that at some point this young person is going to move on. So we, from the time the When I'm Ready starts, are looking at what that move on plan may look like for a young person, and then the steps we need to take to get there. You know, we have young people that maybe just want the extra year. Generally, quite a lot of them stay till about the 2021. But it's very much, you know, we kind of review it every 6 months, and it's a decision between the provider and the young person, really. We try to make that as smooth as possible, and always have the move on the plan in sight, so that we're prepared for that, and young people don't feel that it's coming to a sudden end at 21.
Angela?
Hi there, thank you. Yeah, just to say, I think it's a really lovely idea. I agree with what was said. It's not like you turn 18, suddenly you're left to your own devices. I did read somewhere that there was an expectation that obviously they will have to commit to skills development, etc., which I agree with. I'm just wondering, will you obviously be constantly reviewing that as well? I guess so.
Amy, do you want to pick that up?
Yeah, I didn't jump straight in then because I didn't know if you were going to, sorry. Yeah, in terms of developing the young person's skills, you mean, is it? Independent skills and...
Yeah, I guess just making sure that they are sort of attending the courses and they're getting the help, I suppose, the support that they need along the way.
Yeah, so it's all part of the 6-monthly review. So we look at, you know, what the goals are, what education plans are. We link in with a service run by Bernardo's, the Learn to Live project, who will do an assessment of their independent living skills, and then a planned program of how we develop those skills. And there'd also be an expectation on providers to help them do that within the home. So there is a step from them being in foster placement to, you know, an adult. You can do your own shopping, and being supported to do those things, so that, you know, there is a little step towards independence. But much like, you know, young people would at home with parents, if they start working or going to college at 18, and you're expected to do a little bit more around the house or contribute to things. So yeah, it's quite a natural thing, but there's definitely a focus on, you know, getting ready, and that's the purpose of the scheme, is how we move forward and give them those extra couple of years to build those skills.
That's nice, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come in? Right, my question was really about the phrase skills development, and I thought perhaps it's slightly woolly. Have we got something a bit more precise as to what you were expecting the young person to achieve?
Just to clarify, in terms of the independent skills?
I quote, "will commit to undertaking skills development for the future," but it just a little bit on the woolly side, that's all.
Okay, I'm just going to see if Amy wants to jump in before I...
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's left quite open, and because it's individual to the young person. So from that, when we're planning for the When I'm Ready, we're already setting goals with the young people. Some of them will be educational goals, maybe some will be independent living, some may just be emotional well-being goals, because they're actually not, they haven't got the confidence, or, you know, to go out and live independently. So I think it's pretty left quite, as you say, fluffy, open-ended for that reason, really, because it could be a range of things. You know, it may be young people being able to manage relationships within their birth families, and that, you know, maybe that's the goals that they set. So it could mean a range of things.
And just to follow, sorry, just to follow up on that, because I suppose when we think about the purpose of the When I'm Ready, it is around that sort of opportunity to develop that independence, but without it being really abrupt at 18. So picking up on what Amy's saying, we want that young person to have voice and control, and to be able to express what it is that's needed, and that, and understand from our own sort of assessments of that young person what support would be helpful for them. So we create that bespoke plan around that young person, and it could be training, but it might be, as Amy quite rightly says, it could be about those independent living skills, or building up networks to move them on into the future.
I don't know whether it's possible, but maybe the policy could expand on that. Because I think, as you say, it's going to be totally individual. Every case is going to be different. Every young person is going to be different. Some will need qualifications or practical skills, and some will just need preparation for life. So I can understand all that. I'm just thinking that maybe that ought to be in here, a bit more specific.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll have a look at that and see if we can make some of that more explicit. Thank you.
Angela again, or are your hand's still there? No.
Sorry, I need to bring it down. Sorry.
That's all right. It usually goes, doesn't it? Right. Any other questions?
Just one final point, Chair. I'm sure you must monitor the kind of success rate following post 18. I mean, did you measure that in some way, and what is the sort of success rate of youngsters having reached the age of 18, 19, 20, or whenever they become independent?
And achieving their goals, I guess, is a key question there, isn't it? Again, Amy, can I come to you initially? Is there anything that you can provide in that?
Nothing to hand, but we definitely working on a framework, a performance framework around when I'm ready with our colleagues in the lit team to be able to do just that, really, rather than just looking at numbers and you know how many young people have achieved the outcomes we've aimed for. So we do have some data, but it's probably more numbers than you know quality. So we're working on that at the moment.
All right, thank you very much for coming and presenting that report. You can stay if you want, or you can wander off. Entirely up to you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 5, special guardianship orders. Again, I don't know who's taking this, but thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Claire Edwards-Matthews and I'm the Principal Officer for Care Services and Commissioning. And I've got my colleague here, Donna Lukes, who is the Team Manager of the Family and Friends team and the SGO team. So we've provided a report for you today and the SGO policy, and that provides an outline really of our commitment and our vision and our ambitions for support services for children, young people and their families who are under special guardianship orders. I thought it might be helpful just to give an overview of what a special guardianship order is. So it's an alternative legal status for children and families, and it offers a much greater stability and security than long-term fostering for children and young people, which with a greater legal framework. So the special guardianship individuals share parental responsibility with the parents who hold parental responsibility for those children, rather than sharing parental responsibility with the local authority. So it's similar but different and more permanent arrangement for those special guardians, on par really to adoption, so rather than long-term foster care. And I guess more importantly, it offers the opportunities for children and young people to remain within their connected persons network, so within their birth family, or if they're with on special guardianship orders with foster carers, they've usually been in their care for a long time, and those foster carers will apply for those SGO orders because they don't feel that they need the additional support of the local authority. So the project that the Family and Friends team and Special Guardianship team have had in place started in 2021. And I'll just hand over to Donna now to explain some of the excellent work that they've been doing and what our vision is for our special guardians.
Thanks, Claire. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Lukes, Team Manager of the Family and Friends team. So just to say a little bit about the team and what we do with special guardianship. We've been developing the service massively over the last 2 years. However, really, we started this going back around 2015 when we took all special guardianship, children on special guardianship into the family and friends team. So at the time, we realised that there was a lot of special guardianship orders going through, but the support wasn't always there. So we're having a lot of feedback from our current family and friends foster carers and from special guardians saying that, you know, it's a great order, it's right for the child, it's right for the family, but they wanted more support. So what we wanted to do is to bring all the special guardianship arrangements into the family and friends team, where we're used to supporting kinship carers, and to really work on boosting those support plans for those families. So, you know, what we have always known really is these children have had the same experiences, have all looked after children. Most of them are looked after children before they have the special guardianship order. So we've been pushing that over the last 7-8 years and probably longer. So in the last 2 years, we've had one of the deputy managers in the team, Sarah Ford, who's been heading up the project, and the service has really developed massively in that time. So some of the focus is, well, the main focus has been on really building upon the support plans that we're offering. So we've put in place things like we've got a SGO panel. So the SGO panel is a small but multi-agency panel that looks at the support plans that go into court, the initial support plans. So we oversee that. So we're looking at those families that are potentially going to have SGO, and we're overseeing making sure that support plan is robust, that we feel that it's realistic, manageable, and a really robust support plan for that family. We've taken on a lot of extra support officers. So we've got, I think, 9 support officers in the team now, supporting, which usually between about 320, 350 children on special guardianship in this team. There may be a few more still in other teams. So they provide a lot of support to these families. What we found is, since we've taken on more staff and we've offered more support, we've realised that the more we communicate with the families and the more we engage them, the more support we're finding they actually need. And when they get to know the support officers, they'll happily be ringing up more. So we're sort of identifying a lot of support needs through the development of the service as well. So we've got a range of different support plans in the team. It goes from, there's many families who don't need much additional support. They will just have financial support. And then we've got more complex support plans. In particular, if we've got a family at risk of breakdown, we've introduced quite a structured, robust way of working with special guardianship families where they're at risk, they're really struggling with, say, for example, managing the child's behaviour, or the child is wanting to go home, getting older, and trying to kind of sabotage that placement themselves. I shouldn't say placement because it's not a placement, it's a family. So we hold a lot of stability meetings, and out of that's a multi-agency meeting as well. And out of that comes a multi-agency meeting to try and look at what the issues are in that family and try and keep that family together. We do, our support officers and social workers in the team do a lot of direct work with children. We do life story work. We could do lots of mediation between parents and family members. We also provide a really good duty service. We have a lot of parents accessing support services in the team as well. A lot of parents will ring duty. Duty is really busy because we're a fostering service as well. So we offer a duty service to our foster carers, the kinship carers, plus special guardians. I would say it's mainly special guardians who are ringing duty for the support. We offer support groups. We offer events. We'll do things like Halloween parties for children and that kind of thing, peer support groups, that kind of thing. They're really well attended and really popular with special guardians. This is what the special guardians tell us they want. We've engaged with local special guardianship groups that are out there who've been really candid in telling us where they think that we haven't done so well before and where we need to go. And the feedback we're getting now is, you know, a lot more positive. And we'll always review special guardianship support plans every year as a minimum. So that means the support officer will actually go out to the special guardian's home and just have a check-in and say, how things going? Are there, you know, is there any problems, anything we can help you with? So it's just a check-in, really. We don't always see the child because we're not there to interfere with the families at this stage. They've got parental responsibility. They're a family, but we just want to be there as a safety net. And it's just nice sometimes for families to know that there's someone there. And if they do, and if they don't need any support at that time, once they've met that person, then they're more likely contact that person if need be. We've engaged different parts of the service in terms, for example, early help, some of the family support services, the intake team. We've done quite a lot of work with the other parts of the service, so they're all working together, which has been really helpful. And we've also set up a stability panel. So when we're doing the family stability meetings, they are also overseen by that stability panel, which is made up of different teams across the organisation, so that we're all making sure that we're sharing ideas and resources to best meet the needs of these families. So I would say the service has come on so much over the last few years. We're really pleased with it. The feedback we're having is really good. It's a very busy service. It's a very growing service. So we've done a lot of work. Part of that is updating this policy that you would have seen. I'm not sure if you've had an action plan, which also gives a lot more detail of what I've been talking about. But the work is ongoing. It's a work in progress. There's always going to be more to do. There's a lot more to do, but we feel like we've achieved quite a lot. And hopefully, I would say most of the families we're working with have seen much better, detailed, more appropriate support plans for their families.
I was just going to add to that. So if anybody wanted to become a special guardianship or connected person, the route for that was for them to apply to the courts. So the courts are the only people who can make that order. And as part of that order, the local authority then has to complete an assessment of those special guardians. And as part of that assessment process, we always have to complete a support plan, which is tailored to that child and family and their individual circumstances. And it's that support plan then that is reviewed annually by the local authority.
Again, thank you very much both for that report. Just on that point, is it possible to email details to councillors? So if we ever get a query, we can point people in the right direction?
Yes, most certainly, that's fine, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Again, I've got a couple of questions, but I'll open it up to everybody else first, if anybody wants to ask anything. No? Yes, you mentioned the sort of action plan. I think it's what we've got here, service development overview. I was just wondering, that's dated July. Is it now going to be looked at again? Because obviously these things, I assume, change very rapidly.
They change daily in our line of work.
Yeah.
So it would be constantly reviewed, so that will be updated, yes.
Just generally, again, it sounds like an excellent system in that I assume it also gives the right kind of support to parents without completely taking away their children into another family, which of course sometimes that's what foster care has got to be, and it's not always possible. But to be able to keep the family involved as much as possible sounds like the best way forward. And in a way, I'm very pleased that you are getting a lot of feedback and a lot of our requests for help, because that obviously means they're bothering to care about the child and the family. So it all sounds pretty good to me.
And I think that that's our ethos, really. We always try to ensure that when children need to be placed safely, that we always look to family first, or those who are connected to those children, to ensure that they can remain within that environment. And what we are also conscious of, which is why we want to concentrate on the element of support to special guardianship carers, is that their children's needs change. So they may be assessed for a very young child, but that child's needs will change as they grow older. As we all know, children develop, and depending on the trauma they've experienced, they will have different level of needs. So that's why it's so important to review those support plans and offer that support when and it's needed, really.
Okay, definitely no other questions from anybody else? Gone. Again, thank you very much for coming, and if you want to leave now, that's fine. We've only got one item left, but by all means. Okay, the last item, in fact, is the work plan, and I think talking to Alison earlier, there could be a topic coming up in January, but we're not sure because the particular officer hasn't confirmed this yet. So I want to leave this as it is at the moment. If any of you have got any suggestions of things that you want us to look at, please, by all means, feed that into the chair, Kerry Evans, and copy myself in as well. But I think that I'm going to leave that because he's been more involved in this particular the work plan than I have. So unless anybody else wants to say anything more, I'm going to say the meeting is finished. Thank you very much. And thank you again for your attendance.
Thank you.